Hi guys, what's up? It's your girl Charla from That Girl Cooks Healthy. Today I'm going to show you how to make some pistachio cookies that are vegan friendly, grain free and gluten free. Delicious, definitely a must try. I cannot wait to show you guys how to make this recipe, so let's get to it. So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need some pistachio nuts. I recommend purchasing ones that are deshelled because it'll be a lot easier to work with and you won't have to do the time-consuming thing of deshelling the pistachios. You're also going to need some coconut flour. Like I said, this is a grain-free and gluten-free recipe, so I'm using coconut flour for this recipe. Some powdered sugar, some white vegan chocolate, some dried cranberries, some vegan butter. I'm using room temperature vegan butter that I've just chopped up. Some more almonds, but I've chopped them up. Just you just want to just chop them roughly. I chop them by hand, by the way. So you'll need some of those. Some pistachio essence. This is optional, but it does help to enhance the taste. Some vanilla extract and also some pink salt. So the first thing we need to do to make our cookies is to make some pistachio flour. So I cannot purchase pistachio flour in the store where I am, so what I'm going to do is make my own. So I get some deshelled pistachios, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my spice grinder, coffee grinder, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just going to blitz it into a fine powdery consistency. So what I do is I do this in 2 parts depending on the capacity of yours. You might be able to get all of the nuts in, but I usually have to do it in 2 parts, and then I'm going to show you guys the consistency that you should be looking for. So this is what the pistachio flour or ground pistachios looks like. It's really powdery and really fine, and that is the texture that you should be going for. So I'm using my stand mixture for this recipe, and what I'm going to do now is to add all of my dry ingredients. So I'm going to add the pistachio flour that I made, also going to add the coconut flour, the powdered sugar, and also the pink salt, and then I'm just going to run the mixture just for a few seconds until all of the dried ingredients are completely combined. So I'm just going to stop the mixer and show you guys what the dry ingredients should look like when they're completely combined. So the next thing that I need to do now is to add my vegan butter. So what I want to do is add the vegan butter, and then I'm going to start the machine again. And what I want to do is I want to break down that butter with the dry ingredients to get more of a crumbly type of texture. So I'm going to stop the machine now and show you guys what the texture should look like. It's more of a crumbly texture. That is pretty much the texture that we're going for right now. And then I'm going to add my pistachio essence and also my vanilla essence, and then I'm going to run the blender again, the mixer again, and I'm actually going to gradually build up from the low speed to the high speed And what you want to do now is you want to get more of a dough type of texture. So it's going to take about a minute or two to get to that texture. So I'm going to stop the mixer and show you guys what the consistency should look like now. It shouldn't be too soft, and it also shouldn't be crumbly either. You want something where it's more of a pliable and you can work it into a dough ball. So that's the consistency you're looking for. You might need to add some almond milk or some pistachio flour, if anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the dried cranberries, and I'm also going to add the chopped pistachios, and then I'm going to run the mix again to show you guys what it's going to look like. It should all come together now into almost like a dough ball. Don't worry if it doesn't form into a dough ball, you just want it to all pretty much just come together. So this is pretty much the consistency that you need for your dough. So it's not too dry and it's also not too wet, and it's pliable. So the next thing you need to do is to place the dough on some sarang, or some people call it cling film, and then what you want to do is to just mold it into a ball, and then you just want to wrap it up. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to refrigerate it for up to an hour. So you want to refrigerate it until it's nice and cold. You can also fast track this by putting it in the freezer if you want instead, but you just need to keep an eye on it to make sure that you don't actually freeze it. So the freezer to fast track it, or the fridge for up to an hour. So now that the cookie dough has been chilled for a while, what you need to do now is to just unwrap that dough. And the next thing you need to do now, you need to place it on some parchment paper, and then you need to place another piece of parchment paper on top. So technically the cookie dough is sandwiched between two pieces of parchment paper. Then you need to get a rolling pin and you need to roll out that cookie dough until flat. So in terms of its flatness, you want it to be about just under ½ an inch, pretty much that I would say in thickness. That's pretty much my sweet spot, unless you want your cookies to be quite chunky. But me personally, I just like them to be about that sort of thickness. So you just want to just roll that out until you achieve that, and then I'm going to show you what you guys need to do next. So now we're just going to reveal that beautiful cookie dough that is flattened by taking off the parchment paper. And the next thing we need to do now is we need to use a cookie cutter. So use the cookie cutter of your size. If you want big cookies, then use a giant one. If you want really small ones, then use a small one. Mine is about a medium. It's pretty much like a medium. I have a set, so it's the third one. That's the one that I'm using. I don't really have the dimensions for the one that I'm using, unfortunately. So you should get, if you're using one about the size that I'm using, a medium size, you should be able to get about 12 cookies from the dough. So what I do is I get about, say, 8 or 9 to begin with. Then I re-roll the remaining bits of the cookie dough. So I flatten it out, do the same thing again. So I sandwich it between some parchment paper and re-roll it, and then I get a total of, you're looking at something like 12 or around about that, depending on the size of the cookie cutter that you use. So once you cut them out, you need to place them on a baking tray lined with parchment paper, re-roll, and then I'll show you guys what it should look like. So I'm going to place the first batch of cutout cookies that I just made onto a baking tray. I got about 9 of them in total, so I'm going to re-roll the scraps, and I should be able to get about 3. So like I said, I usually get about 12. You may get a different amount, so you know, if you're using the same cookie cutter, then we should both get about 12 or something like that. So once I place them on the baking tray, I'm going to put that to the side, re-roll, do the same process again, and then I'm going to add the additional cookies as well. So I'm just going to add the last of the cutouts that I made, and then I'm going to bake them in the oven. They brown quite quickly, so you do want to keep an eye on it. So for me, it took less than 15 minutes, so keep an eye on them, and they should be slightly brown when they're done. So this is what the cookies look like once they're baked. They're slightly golden with a nice green hull. So now I'm going to prepare the white chocolate drizzle. So I heated up a saucepan, and once it is warm, the next thing I'm going to do is place the vegan white chocolate on top and allow it just to melt. So the white chocolate is melted. I'm just going to get a spoon just to determine that is ready, and then I'm going to put it to the side. So what I'm going to do now is just to take a spoon, and I'm going to drizzle that white chocolate over the top of the cookies. Now I did find that the vegan white chocolate wasn't as runny as I'd like it to be. So what I did, and this is a quick tip for anybody who may not be aware of this, that if you melt chocolate, if you ever melt chocolate in a bain-marie the way I did, and it is not too runny, what you can do to remedy this is you need to add a small amount of oil, and the oil is going to create a runniness to it. It still is going to dry just the way that it should do, just the oil is just going to help it along the way to make it into a runny consistency. So that is what I did, and that is a tip for anybody who is not aware of it. So we're just going to just continue to drizzle a bit more on the top, and then I'm just going to get some chopped nuts and also some chopped cranberry, and I'm just going to sprinkle that as garnish. This is optional, you don't actually have to do this if you don't want to. So that's it, guys. That is how you make some vegan style pistachio cookies using pistachio nuts. Grain-free alternative for those of you who are grain-free and gluten-free. These are a must-try cookie. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Support the channel any way you can. I do appreciate that, and I will catch you on the other side.